Eda Hocam başlayabilirsiniz. YouTube'dayız.
Teşekkür ederim hocam. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Eda Hazarun from TUADER University. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the conference on managing tourism across continents. In this session, Minia Yaruya will have speech with the topic of leveraging technology for transformation and sustainability in hospitality and tourism. Before starting our session, I would like to introduce our esteemed guest, Minia Yaruya. Vinia Yaruya works as Director Education Advocacy at Microsoft Corporation India. She is responsible for evangelizing education initiatives at Microsoft. She leads and manages strategic engagement in education focus of Key to Work for digital transformation in education. She works on several strategic engagement with both of education and key institutions, driving impact of faculty and civil readiness for future. She has received numerous awards such as Women Empowerment Grant, Innovator for Year, Award in the Worldwide Team for her work at HP Labs. Now, I would like to give the floor to our guests. Thank you.
Greetings to all of you. It's indeed a pleasure to be speaking at this international conference on the theme Leveraging Technology for Transformation and Sustainability in Hospitality and Tourism. It'll be great to share my perspectives coming in from a background of both technology management, strategy, as well as services management. Over the next half hour or so, I will be sharing my thoughts on how technology trends are shaping and impacting across multiple industry segments. I will also talk about industry applications in the realm of hospitality for AI, cloud, and data analytics, and what are the future directions we could be thinking through. These are times where unprecedented changes have precipitated. Pandemic has led to newer realization about hybrid forms of work. The world has changed beyond description. I would say the pandemic precipitated a lot of changes. There are a lot of new opportunities and experiences from digital technology, which the companies are embracing very rapidly. There was a recent report from the World Economic Forum Jobs of 2020 survey, which talks about 90% of the organizations worldwide are going to embrace artificial intelligence, data analytics, IoT, and cloud technologies in multiple verticals. And as Satya Nadella also says that COVID-19 impacts every aspect of our work and life. And we have seen years of transformation in the last few months. The climate change has caused unprecedented changes. We are seeing crises around water management, high temperatures across the world, extinction of species, glaciers melting away. And these changes need to be mitigated and addressed collectively by all of the stakeholders. Also, there is a need for a holistic approach, a systematic level, a systemic approach in a systematic manner. Institutions need to be involved, individuals' attitudes have to be shaped, and society collectively will have to take a few calls thinking about communities that get impacted. And in everything that we do and think, sustainability has to be a key consideration, and the scale of operations would be extremely important. The engines of the future are going to be several technologies. We are at the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution, which is powered by artificial intelligence, IoT, mixed reality, blockchain, quantum computing. These are the technologies that are shaping people's lives. Multiple vertical segments are using them in unprecedented ways, and also they become important aspects guiding decision makers on a day-to-day basis. And these technologies are ensuring that there is empowerment and human-centeredness rather than being divisive or dehumanizing, and is not just a task for any single stakeholder or sector or any particular industry, but it's a global revolution, which means that it will affect and be influenced by countries, economies, sectors, and people. And when we talk about digital transformation, it is not just the technology piece that we talk about. We talk about people transformation. We talk about cultural transformation, because behind every technology is a human being. And also the impact of such interventions will also impact workplaces, our attitudes, our interpersonal connections. And therefore, digital transformation would mean that there has to be ownership by the people. And it also talks about an orchestrated and managed change which leads to an entire cultural transformation. I will like to share some insights from Microsoft sustainability efforts that Microsoft has been making. And much of it is, it brings together technology-led change. It talks about involvement of communities, and it also talks about an ecosystem approach. Microsoft takes a very principled approach for sustainability, and there are 7 principles that guide the work at Microsoft. So first is grounding in science and maths. Everything has to be supported with data and has to be done thoughtfully, and there has to be a logic behind taking of several initiatives. Second is taking responsibility for our footprint. As I talked in the beginning, an holistic approach needs to be taken for orchestrating sustainability in any industry. And whatever, whether it's consumption of water or carbon footprint or waste recycling, the entire approach has to ensure that there is a responsibility for the footprint that is generated. Third principle is investing in new solutions and technology. Technology powers a lot of insights and gives us unique opportunity to take decisions which are pragmatic and also assess what's working and what's not working. Also, the fourth principle is empowering customers and partners around the world. So we share our experiences, learnings, and technology applications across solutions that could power sustainable cities, that could contribute to leaving lower footprint in the environment. Fifth is ensuring effective transparency of the interventions that have been taken. Sixth principle is using a voice on climate-related public policy issues. And seventh is enlisting our employees, enabling our employees. It is very, very important that we power and shape the attitudes of employees towards sustainability and have a community-driven approach towards that. We also need to look at the goals that Microsoft has set for itself. So by 2030, Microsoft will remove more carbon that it emits, and by 2050, it will remove all historical emissions as well. And that's a lofty target that Microsoft is striving towards. I would also like to share the timeline and what particular steps Microsoft has taken to meet these sustainability goals. There are a lot of learnings from here. So the ambition is by 2050 to remove all historical emissions, and by 2030 become zero waste, become water positive, and become carbon negative by the year 2030. And also by the year 2025, operate with 100% renewable energy and protect more land than Microsoft uses. And there have been time-bound actions that have been instituted right from the year 2012, where 100% carbon neutral, internal carbon free has been instituted. In 2016, there was a zero waste campus certification. In 2017, AI for Earth was launched, and LEED Gold certification for new data centers was put in place. By 2018, supplier carbon engagement in China was launched, and net zero potable water Silicon Valley campus groundbreaking aspect was achieved. So there are very precise, measurable goals that have been put in place, and also actions have been taken to support those aspects. So when we talk of sustainability, there are four key aspects to look at. So one is carbon, second is related to water positive, waste, 100% waste recycling, and ecosystem approach. And Microsoft not only looks at these four areas where we can scale by minimizing the negative impacts of our operations, but also maximizing the positive impacts of our technology. And Microsoft looks at its operations to achieve these goals. It also looks at community engagements and programs. It looks at supply chain, which adheres to similar value system and standards, and also employees who live up to achieve sustainability in every aspect of our work. So technology powers customers and partners, and we also work with policymakers as well to achieve these goals. And in terms of putting sustainability into practice, so as we talked about, we bring these values in our work with customers and partners, in the products and services that we offer. These are inbuilt into our operations as well as policy aspects as well. The AI for Earth challenge was launched in 2017, where AI and cloud technologies were put into the hands of the world's leading ecologists and conservation technologists, and organizations around the world are working to protect our planet. The program increases access to AI technologies through grants, through educational programs, and how cloud and AI technologies can be used for strategic partnerships. So they have empowered over 700 organizations in more than 100 countries on game-changing environmental innovations. Also, the whole idea is to drive global impact. Microsoft partners with several education institutions, universities across the world, where students and faculty are encouraged to apply for grants on sustainability projects and become more inclusive in their approach as well. And there are several accomplishments that have been achieved through the use of technology and a focused sustainability program. In terms of the ecosystem approach, where sensitization has happened, more than 700 plus grantees were given AI for Earth grants in over 100 countries. Over $30 million were invested in closed loop partners funds to help build a circular economy. Over $10 million were invested towards a program on becoming water positive with Emerald Technology Ventures Global Water Impact Fund to support innovation technologies for water conservation. And you can see that, so there are millions of dollars of investment. So $129 million have been invested across funds and organizations innovating in carbon reduction, water management, and circular economy. And in terms of influencing education as well, Microsoft has strongly supported embracing SDG goals in education and how AI, cloud, and data technologies can power projects that create bigger sensitization for recycling of materials, for using cloud technologies. So there is a global educator exchange challenge, which is AI for Good, where the global teaching community partners across countries on some wonderful projects to mitigate climate change, to be more inclusive, to on accessibility projects as well. And the top projects get international recognition as well. Also, Teams, which is a collaborative platform from Microsoft, has been leveraged to reduce travel footprint and create global collaboration between classrooms. In fact, several schools in India have won recognition for work for partnering on climate projects where teachers from and students from multiple countries participated and shared experiences on how they can implement SDG goals in their country. Also, technologies power paper-free environments. We have instances of schools and universities that are leveraging technology for assessments, for teaching and learning, and also monitoring the progress. And this enables a paper-free environment as well in those institutions. Technology is also empowering inclusivity and is embedded as a core value in products and services. Research grants have been given for AI for Good, and students get Azure credits who are enrolled in higher education for championing such projects as well. And you can definitely get more information from 2020 Microsoft's Environmental Sustainability Report. The links are here as well for you to explore. And it is Microsoft's mission to empower every person and every organization on the planet to do more. I would also like to bring in another example of ITC Hotels, which is the sixth largest value creator amongst consumer goods globally as an organization. They are carbon positive, water positive, and solid waste recycling positive. They have the world's largest green hotel located at Chennai, which is called ITC Chola property. And they have wonderfully embedded sustainability in their buildings by way of design, where a lot of natural lighting comes in. Lobby areas have been restricted so that lesser energy is consumed to keep the environment cool. And they use natural materials, abundance of natural lights in the restaurants, in the corridors. Walls have been built to a particular specification so that they absorb lesser heat, and insulations have been put in place both in roofings and walls as well. And they have put in energies, they have embraced global energy standards in the equipment that is deployed at the hotels. And it is not just about technology, but they have shaped individual attitudes as well towards water usage. So normally, if you look at, when you visit a restaurant, people pour water when being serviced. The glass is always full, but they ensure that only half a glass of water is used and rest of it is wasted, so that they have made a policy here that only half glass of water would be served every time. And this is a very simple example of bringing in a change in habits and mindsets as well. They share the transport for folks coming to offices. The timings are adhered to, and it is not that for just few people the entire office is open. There are areas that are open so that energy can be conserved. They also eliminate food wastages. They have green banqueting facilities where after the event, the rolls that are used for projecting the presentations are donated to NGOs where they are being recycled for providing shelter to the underprivileged as well. So the lessons that are learned from these interventions are the perspectives that I shared from Microsoft as well as from ITC, that there are several elements that need to be looked at if we need to mitigate climate change at scale. So these are water management interventions. We have to very consciously look at preserving sources of water and also recycling them. Energy consumption and the source of energy, we need to leverage renewable sources of energy. We need to look at solar, wind, as sources of energy so that the reliance on conventional resources is reduced and a lesser carbon footprint is given out. The third aspect is we need to look at environment and ecosystem. We need to look at preserving natural habitats, and also we need to look at waste management and communities preservation as well. We need to make sure that people retain their livelihoods, the tourist destinations stay attractive and are sustainable in their orientation, and cultural assets also need to be maintained for the future of tourism. I will now change gears here and will come down to discussing some of the key technologies and the impact that these technologies could have on the hospitality segment. So first of all, I would like to talk about cloud technologies, because this is an area which is powering many segments, whether we're talking of banking, we talk of retail, we talk of healthcare, and we talk of hospitality as well. Several chains like Intercontinental Hotels, Green Engage Program, Best Westerns, reservation system, Amex operations, they're all powered by cloud services. Hospitality as an industry is embracing cloud because it has certain characteristics and considerations. So one is high availability of compute power. So for reservation systems, for CRM, ERP applications, the services can be scaled. They are also elastic. That means you consume as much as you need on cloud. So only that much infrastructure you can use as per your requirements. So you reduce the total cost of operation. The demand, depending upon whether it's scaling up or scaling down, infrastructure flexibility can be brought in. There is a lot of agility. There are security aspects as well. You do not have to worry about security because they adhere to the global security standards. Also, there is global reach that you can power with cloud technologies for various markets. And also, there are predictive cost management aspects as well that run into. Also, when investing on cloud technologies, they are not treated as capital expenditure because you're not spending the money on building up a physical infrastructure. So you do not have to invest in legacy infrastructure and reducing that expense from tax bill over time. So so these are classified as operational expenditures. So expenses on cloud technologies are treated as OPEX, which is spending money on services and products and being billed for them immediately. You can deduct this expense from your tax bill in the same year, and there is no upfront cost. You pay for a service or a product as you go. So your fixed investments, there are lesser liabilities on you in terms of security, in terms of additional manpower, in terms of exercising flexibility depending upon the demand in the marketplace. So cloud applications can be offered as infrastructure as a service, where you can use a cloud for your security needs, servers needs, networking firewalls, and instead of putting the data in the physical data centers, you can put the data on the cloud. The second bit is using cloud for platform as a service, wherein it is not just the infrastructure needs that can be powered by cloud, but even application development as well as leveraging operating systems is also possible. And the highest level of offering comes in as software as a service, where you not only leverage infrastructure, you're not only leveraging operating systems and app development on cloud, but you're also hosting applications and leveraging software as a service on cloud. So Microsoft Office 365, Teams, Dynamics are all examples of software as a service. And also, here is an example of how the cost of operations can be brought down in the hospitality segment by leveraging cloud. So there is a total cost of ownership calculator inbuilt into Microsoft Azure, where it's a tool that enables you to estimate cost savings that you realize by migrating from on-prem to cloud services. For example, if there is there is an organization that's using the applications of compute, a data center, networking, and storage on-prem, and is spending about uh, you know uh, almost $30 million on it. But when you think of moving it to a cloud, the same cost that you were physically incurring, which was worth $30 million, can be brought down to about 595K. So this is the extent of savings that one can look at by embracing cloud in a meaningful manner. So there are multiple applications that can be hosted on cloud, as I just tried to explain. Also, artificial intelligence is also becoming an integral part of our lives. It's another technology that powers very rich insights and aids and builds up on our decision-making capabilities. It's a branch of science and technology that is devoted to the creation of machines that learn and think as human beings and is known as artificial intelligence. It has got multiple applications by way of it helps to improve computer functions which are related to human knowledge. For example, reasoning, learning, problem solving. The applications are many. For example, we can automate several processes. For instance, we do not have to type a document. We can dictate it in any language. Localization in multiple languages is possible. The creation of robos. In fact, there are restaurants that have automated their systems, and even the services are being automated in the restaurants. And this is possible through the application of AI and cloud. There are virtual assistants. For example, you would have heard of Alexa, would have heard about Siri, and these are the virtual assistants that help you do a lot of tasks if you need data, or for example weather report before you are traveling, or the new emails that have come into your inbox, or integration with automation of lighting in a room. All these are possible through virtual assistants. And then they are integral part of software as well. They are also in transportation. For example, we're talking of self-driving cars. These are all applications of artificial intelligence. Programmatically, in multiple industries, artificial intelligence does contribute to a lot of advancements. For example, in healthcare, with cloud data and AI applications in India, in Narayana hospitals, you get reports on the condition of the heart. So one is to just get those printouts, but imagine seeing the condition of an heart in a 3D scenario where you know how the situation has evolved, how the arteries or veins are, how the muscles are behaving, and from time to time imagine that the virtual reality images can really power and create a better understanding and predict if there is going to be a heart condition, and proactive measures can be taken to kind of control any forthcoming illness as well. In agriculture, for example, AI applications are deployed to predict, when the crop must be sowed, or for example, where the farmers may go and sell their produce. So these are all signals which are picked up from climate data, from different markets, and then accordingly, the farmers can take more informed decisions so that yields can be improvised. In retailing, how the movement of products happen, how the consumer demand is there across multiple products. Artificial and data applications are very, very helpful here. They also improve productivity, overcoming the barriers of language, and also power our personal life experiences with multiple gadgets. Some of the key applications of AI in hospitality could be looked at in terms of sentimental analysis for customers and employees. It's been customary that when you go and visit a hotel, a feedback form is normally filled up by the customers. And very often, some of the feedback that needs to be actioned upon takes a little while, because there are lags in compiling the data, and also looking at actions that could emanate from the customer suggestions. Imagine in a front office scenario, in a lobby, when customers walk in, or in the restaurants when they come in and when they leave, the expressions on their faces, if you meaningfully capture the data and do a sentimental analysis, it gives you live reports on whether customers are happy, or they are sad, or they are different forms of their expressions can be captured for a better decision making as well. Social media insights on stakeholder reactions can be mapped. For example, power platforms and power apps enable you to automate a lot of decisions as well. For example, if there are positive or negative customer comments on social media, they could all be tagged, and then information can be taken up to mitigate or reinforce certain messages as well, which could go on an autopilot mode. There is also possibility of localization of content for customers in various languages. Normally, specific languages are used to reach out to customers, but in a country like India, where you have so many regional languages as well, so the brochures or instructions can not only be in English, but there are 11 Indian languages which could readily translate those materials, and there could be more engaging conversations with customers. There is also use of bots, for example, customer service, customer queries, employee engagements, for example, choices that people make. A lot of stuff can be managed through bots, saving very precious time for individuals, and also assimilating large quantities of data as well. Many forms that get filled automatically, they can be analyzed, or the feedback can be analyzed, textual analysis can be done. There are automatic reports that can be generated from feedback forms, and many of the customer experiences, managing lighting, managing devices, can all be automated through the use of AI in hospitality. It is very important to understand that what are the underlying technologies behind AI. So, what you see as manifestation of bots or language translations or cognitive services, behind this is a combination of several technologies that are used, such as data. So one needs to look at how data is collected, managed, stored, and then destroyed, because we have to adhere to the global data norms of privacy and security. There is also types of data. We need to classify whether it is structured or unstructured data. There needs to be an element of cloud, because if we are talking of zillions of inputs, of data inputs, how do you analyze such data at scale? Cloud to host the infrastructure and power the compute in a fast manner is also an integral component. Then applications that can be hosted, and then predictive applications, services, and then what are the underlying principles that are deployed so that ethical use of technology happens, are all important aspects for AI. And to implement AI systematically, there are several principles that have to be looked at. For example, security and privacy. We need to respect customer data and ensure fairness of representation as well. So biases towards one community should not come in when we design the machine learning models. And therefore, inclusivity therefore becomes very, very important. Inclusivity by way of gender, by way of age, by way of geography, by way of abilities. There are so many dimensions to it that need to be looked at when designing AI applications for a particular industry. Reliability and safety aspects are very important. For example, for image processing, there have been a lot of concerns that it impinges people's privacy. So there are laws that how certain decisions that need to be taken, or if AI technology is being used, it should not impinge on someone's personal space. So guidelines have to be framed appropriately, and different industry segments have to respect these aspects when designing or using solutions. Transparency and accountability are other key principles here. And I come to the next aspect of technology, which is analytics as well. So you are seeing global reservation systems, travel related aspects, delivery systems through platforms like Zomato, and the analytics play a very, very important role, because you have these thousands and millions of consumers who are consuming the services, making reservations, sharing feedback. How do you make sense out of that data? Is very, very important. So here there are multiple technologies in terms of big data. Power platforms are being utilized to automate the reports and have deeper insights. For example, if there is a hospitality chain which runs across 100 countries or several countries, and if you have data that is lying in multiple formats. So there is structured data, unstructured data, social media inputs. There are consumer reports as well. Imagine if all these multiple data sources can be tapped into, and automatically if the data is analyzed and reports are generated, how much time would be saved. And leveraging digital assistants as well for automating some of your tasks is an important application here. These data insights also power your decisions, and also the investments that have been made in various loyalty programs. It can give you insights on what is working, what is not working, insights into consumer behavior as well, and underlying patterns. And also if you need to bring about changes in your offerings, is all possible through the applications of analytics. Microsoft also uses Microsoft Dynamics 365, which have ERP and CRM applications. So you can drive customer engagement programs through this, and with the real-time data and analysis, you can get insights on how things are moving. And these applications also are applicable across marketing, finance, services, and supply chain. They lead to better governance, and Microsoft itself uses Microsoft Dynamics 365 for its various applications across disciplines. So, to sum up my presentation, I would just like to share that digital transformation requires leadership anchorship. The leadership support is a key ingredient to success when a change has to be augured. Those technologies must be embraced that lead to sustainability, that lead to scaling of interventions. And it is not just about a particular use of technology, it is about leadership, it is about change, and it is about instituting a mechanism that change can be brought in a structured manner. There needs to be, a viewpoint and a very conscious decision on imbibing sustainability right from sourcing of products, inbuilt into service offerings, sensitizing consumers as well as employees' participation in such interventions, and engaging communities in a meaningful manner. And your supply chain is a very, very important component as well. If you look at if your suppliers adhere to green practices and they follow a principled approach on sustainability, then a meaningful change will come in. And we need to think about green orientation from cradle to grave. So it's right from sourcing to processing to marketing to also recycling. The entire cycle has to be looked into. We need to look at forging partnerships for energy, renewable energy sources, solar, wind, tidal are all areas that could be used to power. And in designing of hotels, restaurants, or for example managing tourism destinations, we need to look at a very, very coordinated approach, leveraging technology as a strategic lever. Technology can make unprecedented contributions in terms of scaling your operations, giving deep data insights, leveraging artificial intelligence to go, really go paperless, to leave a lesser carbon footprint, and also measure. Unless you measure, you cannot change. Therefore, a solid way of measuring, analyzing, and then taking decisions is important. And partnerships on policy matters, bringing education stakeholders, involving society and industry together is a way that will truly usher in sustainability at scale. So it's not a matter anymore for deliberations, but a call for urgent action and commitment. So I think it's time to take a solid action here and bring multiple stakeholders together. And thank you so much for listening to me. And it's been a pleasure to be here interacting with you. Thank you.
Dear participants, can you hear me? Eda hocam, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay. Dear participants,
I would like to thank our guest Vinia Yevre for her authentic speech of new generation technologies, role of providing innovation sustainability for tourism industry. I would also like to express my gratitude to all participants for joining this session. Hope to see you on the next session. Thank you.
thank you so much, Eda hocam. Dear participants, now we will have 1 hour break. We'll come back at 3:30 p.m. Turkish time.